I want you to start looking into life as a story. This podcast, I want you to start talk about how to strategize your life and wade through this problem, the jungle of enmity, jungle of negative people, negative thoughts, negative actions around you. There's going to be some people who wanted to hurt you, attack you. Right? So it's a matter of whether you are a well-established political leader, a diplomat, highly successful diplomat, or a company chief executive, or some people who wanted to grab your title, jealous about who you are, and they wanted to live yours in our lives. Unfortunately, makes our life and determines who we are and what, and then the type of decisions we take, the type of role we take, and type of incidents that happens in our lives. Everything shapes us, as a country over a period of time that exists inside of you and outside of you. So if you take Sigma as a major tool people use is actually you. They will, or others will find it difficult or find it almost impossible to captivate you into their stories if you create your own story of maybe life. Advised by the best lawyers, that you can hire. You may have a fantastic think tank to support your decision-making process. But one thing you should do as a final validation. Hello, folks. Welcome to another podcast of Moyanas. In this podcast, I wanted to talk about one of the common problems we all face in our lives of getting attacked by not just only by our enemies, but also by the people who we trust and be surrounded by. Often, if you dig deeper into the reason behind these attacks, these are common things like being jealous, enmity based on your wealth, success in life. There are many reasons why humans attack one another, right? But what I wanted to talk about is how to survive these attacks. Not only to survive these attacks, but also to move ahead in life in spite of these attacks, because these attacks keeps coming, regardless of what stage in life you are, who you are, what role you take in your career life, the level of financial success that you have seen in your life, what kind of responsibilities you hold. Always there's going to be some people who wanted to hurt you, attack you. Right? So it's a matter of whether you are a well-established political leader, a diplomat, highly successful diplomat, or a company chief executive, or a very successful entrepreneur, head of family office, or head of an investment banker. No matter what kind of a job role you hold, what kind of a title you hold, right? There's always going to be some people who wanted to grab your title, jealous about who you are, and they wanted to live your life, right? Craving for the attention that you get in your life. So you can't avoid it. These people exist. In fact, the people who are much more closer to you has more potential to hurt you than the ones who are outside. That doesn't mean that you can avoid those people. Doesn't mean that you can stop or start hating these people, right? Many of them probably your loved ones, right? And I never try to stamp anybody as a bad person, always, right? People are born as a pure soul, from the childhood, right? When we are born as a baby, we are all born equal, and the life turn of events in our lives, unfortunately, makes our life and determines who we are and what, and then the type of decisions we take, the type of role we take, and type of incidents that happens in our lives. Everything shapes us, over a period of time. And the most important thing is that as we grow older, the most important thing is the desire, the ego, greediness, all these negative things catches up and dominates more in our lives, unfortunately, right? So I'm not interested in making you feel or that people around you are enemies and you need to fight them out, right? Or you need to get it out. That's not true, because people are good, still good, in spite of them doing something wrong to you in one aspect of life. They probably are doing a lot of other things which is good for you, right? So I'm not interested in giving you advice in terms of stamping everybody as an enemy and be afraid of everybody, or get rid of people, everybody around you. Then you can't live your life. Now you can't live life then you will be left as a loner, right? You can't live life as a loner. And we are all surrounded by, we live in a society, we are surrounded by people, and every decision that we make is being influenced by other people. Everything that we do, we are helped by a lot of people, right? From the morning until we go to bed, we've been helped by both known and unknown people around us. So my point is not to make you go and fight people. I'm In this podcast, going to talk about how to strategize your life and wade through this problem, the jungle of enmity, jungle of negative people, negative thoughts, negative actions around you. Right. So if you dig deeper, you will find one thing very clear, and you should be clear, even if you have not thought about it until now. You should start. That's my purpose, right? I want you to start looking into life as a story. In fact, life is a story. I am a karma yogic. I'm more philosophical person. I'm also very practical, but then I have a ability. I develop ability, skills, and understanding of life over a period of time with my spiritual transformation, with my knowledge transformation, which brought the wisdom for me to understand life, how the life is being designed around us, and how it gets. Um, Life is a continuum, right? That exists inside of you and outside of you. So if you take sigma as a overall, world, you are part of the sigma, but then you are kind of inclusive, right? You can't really live outside of the sigma. You're part of it, but the global thing where everybody is, all the people together make the society, and you are part of that sigma. So you need to design your life within that sigma only. At the same time, you should have a ways to resist certain things, develop a unique characterization for yourself. So you will avoid and be successful in terms of fighting out the negative forces going to attack you from outside of you and also from within yourself. As I said, regardless of what role you play in life, whether you are a billionaire or soon to be a trillionaire, or you are a common man working 9 to 5 job, taking life easy, regardless of who you are, it's going to be the same. It's just only the type of problems, the type of characters, the type of people would vary. the type of problems would be different depending on which part of the, what type of hierarchical structure you are in and what industry you play into, or what type of social status you enjoy, or financial status you've been confined to. Right? Only the problems will vary, but then the core of the solution remains the same. So people want to take you down and want your position. They want you to be failing. For that, they're going to continue to attack. So what major tool people use is actually you. They will, based on how you define yourself, like the title you give to yourself, right? Or you attain the title, the type of education you acquire, the type of social status and financial status you try to give to yourself or you give to yourself, all these things become the weapon to attack you, right, by your enemies or people around you. So very first rule is you have to, I know it's going to be strange because most of the people would get advice, oh, you need to focus on attaining your title in your life, and your title is going to be going to make your life very successful. So focus on getting one title one time, right? Become an expert in one area, attain a title, right? But that's what I differ. I see, in my opinion, and which I know I'm right. The title, if you have no option, and if you work hard to get one title in one area, one avatar of yourself, right, then it becomes easy for people to create a narrative, set a narrative, and create incidents and create a theme to attack you. Essentially, what I'm saying is people create narratives and stories and make you as the actor in that story, because you define your role already, very clearly defined. You're not going to change that role, right? So they define your role, yes, sir, static role, and they would put that character, define yourself as a character, into their story. Remember, that story is written by them, not by you. But since you defined your character, this is how my role is, this is what my role is, this is how the role is going to work, this is what I'm standing up for, these are the principles by which I live. All these things you are defining too much very clearly for them to create a beautiful character who they can control in their story. So in the story that your enemies, or if the people who would like to control you, in their story, they are the script writers, the dialogue writers, they are the directors of the entire story, and you are only an actor because you created the character and you become the actor of your own character, and they trap you inside the story, right? Now, once you are trapped inside the story, the entire life is going to be the narrative of the life, your life, the sequence of events that happens in your life. Every tragedy, that story requires tragedies, right? Story is made of tragedies and kind of change of events, right? Everything is being orchestrated by somebody else, the people who you hand over the control to, whether willingly or unwillingly. You may argue with me saying that no, I do take all the control of every decision I make. Oh no, I have the control of my life. But my question would be, you probably might define yourself, who you are and what you do. You may choose to go to a job that you like, or you may choose to work with partners that you do shortlist, or you make a decision to invest in something and you control some employees who would go and make such investment decisions, or you make, if you are a diplomat, you create, you control certain policies, you created policies, or you enforce policies, or you everything. You may think that you are the one who is having the control of your life, but in reality, most probably, you don't control this. Somebody else is having, you're only an actor in the whole sequence. Somebody else is doing all these things for you, narrating the narratives and the control of the events that's happening around. They make those events, or even if events happen, they control the sequence of those events and the outcome of those events. How the events are going to take a new turn. All these things they are going to have the control. So, what should you do? You should avoid getting into the trap of other people's stories. How to avoid getting into other people's stories? That's in your hands. You avoid getting into other people's story, or others will find it difficult or find it almost impossible to captivate you into their stories if you create your own story of your life. You are the one who create the story, create the narrative of the story, the flow of the story, sequence of events, everything under your control. Take the control back. Create story of your life. Then you will not be, it's almost impossible for other people to trap. Every time, if somebody is trying to deal with you, every contract that you sign, every policy decisions that you make, representing your nation, or representing your company, or representing your family, whatever you do, right? Ask this major validation, right? You may be advised by the best lawyers, that you can hire. You may have a fantastic think tank to support your decision-making process. But one thing you should do as a final validation: are you going to have control of the story moving forward? Because we live in multiple stories. Remember, I'm not talking about one story of life, right? Every event, every sequence of events become a story by itself, right? So we're talking about story within stories, right? You need to have control on each one of these narratives. Never fall into other people's story. So the final validation I want you to do before making any decision in life, in your career, is to ask the question whether the story moving forward from here, this action is going to lead to a new story, right? With so many sequence of events going to happen, right? Good, bad, any futuristic thing. Am I going to have control on the people coming into, other characters walking into, being part of the story? Am I going to have control on those events, potential tragedies? If you come across, because tragedies, you can't avoid tragedies. Tragedies happen in life, right? So, what is my, how do I have total control, right? So for that, you first, need to design the story. How to design your own story of life, right? Let's see that. So how to design your own story beautifully, where you as a core character, how to narrate the whole story. That will be you as a team, you as a core of the team. Making every event, every change of events have potential issues, problems, everything that you foresee, how to take control of the entire story, right? Start with a very simple, every story, there is a, there are basic rules for every story. You can talk to good story writer and person, who can narrate, very successful people who made, story writers and movie makers. You can learn from them. There are very fantastic people. Uh, I'll tell the basic, which I learned, the fundamental structure parts of the story, right? Story should have a clear core theme, right? By which you need to anchor your story within that theme. You should never deviate from the theme of your story, right? As I said, right, everything that you do based on whether you sign an agreement, whether you sign a business contract or an investment decision you make, uh, will create a new story. So very first thing is how to create the core theme for these stories. So create the theme, core theme for each one of these stories. And you're going to live there as an avatar of yourself, right? As I said, there's going to be multiple parallel stories that you have to live within yourself. But each one of these stories, you must have control. You as an avatar is going to live in each one of these stories. So you need to clearly define the core theme of the story. And then you need to, another thing is story. One is the core theme. The second thing is the story should always will progress towards the end. So you should know where the end is, right? The story has to be moved. Your life story has to be keep on moving towards the end goal. This is where the goal setting process comes, right? I'm lucky enough in my life to be taught by my mentor Zig Ziglar in terms how to set your goals. So I learned over a period of time, it got internalized inside me, how to set goals in your life, right? So story must go, smoothly towards the end goal without deviating from the core theme. So core theme and end goal, core theme, end goal, both has to be really defined, and you need to make sure that every event is happening. The story should not deviate from these two. Okay. The next most important thing is, even before writing the narrative and setting the core theme, defining your role, right? As I said, it's okay for you internally say that you are a fund manager, or you are a chief investment officer, or a chief executive officer, or I'm foreign affairs minister, whatever the title that you got, right? Don't get married to the title fully. Yes, that's one of the titles for one narrative of the story, right? You first have to create avatars of yourself and never fall into trap of single specialization. I know this is where I differ from most of the people. I know you will find it very strange and odd, but trust me, if you want to live life, a comprehensively holistic life, very successfully, right? Both outward success as well as internal success, right? First of all, you need to understand you live yourself, live within yourself. That's the very first character, right? You have to define, forget about other people, time being. First, you need to create your character, design your avatar that has to live within yourself. Okay, every day until you die, that character is going to stuck with you. Whatever you are creating a character of yourself, you can lie to yourself. You have to be honest, truthful, with integrity to yourself. That's the most hardest part. Somebody giving you the title as a external, affairs minister or a secretary of state, or giving you as a title as a family office head. Those titles are just titles, right? But that is for mostly given to you by the story writers by themselves. Think about it, right? Those titles are given by them. Okay, you are trying to live their story, that title. That's why it's very important. I know you can't avoid those titles, but those titles are not you. So if one title, this is most important thing. If you have been set and created, get married to one title 100%, and the title is controlled for that story, you've been confined or captivated for somebody else's story, right? You represent your country, and the country's leadership gave you the title, right? That's where you are captivated with that. But it's sequence of events that, remember, failure is an event, not a person. But then you got to be careful. Others will try to stamp you as a failure. They will not recognize failure as an event, but you should recognize and be careful or not getting into the trap. As I said, failure is an event, it's not a person, right? That means the events going to happen should be insulated from you as a person. How you do? You use the title they gave you as a hedge that between you and them. Their story, you play their story. Unfortunately, you took that job, you took that responsibility as a role to play, right? Now you pull the things back into your own life narrative, right? Yes, they try to set the narrative, they try to captivate you, but then use the title, insulate the title, insulate yourself using the title that they gave, right? So your avatar for that particular sequence or narrative or story should be different from who you are. There has to be it's just recognized as an avatar, and you should be able to kill the avatar mentally. You prepare your mind. I only play that role, okay? I only play that role. I don't become that role. That's most important thing. Never try to become the role. Don't tie up yourself too much with the role that you play, okay? Your avatar. That's why avatar, the word avatar came with that as a baseline. Okay, a copy, a version of you. Right? Then you should that version, whatever happens to that version, attacked by people, attacked by your adversaries. You should be ready to kill that avatar. How can you kill the avatar but not dying with it? Only by detachment. Okay, you have to develop the attitude, the skills, the mindset, the ability to detach yourself from the avatar that you have created or somebody else created for you. Right? That's the most important thing. Remember, failure or a success, right, is defined by people, mostly by outsiders, not you. Because they create the targets, they create the storyline, they create the definitions, and then they will be able to declare whether you are a success or a failure. You get it? So it's very important for you not to get into the trap of the definition of success or failure by them. Can you avoid it? Can you, if somebody is creating a job role for you, obviously you are handing over the responsibility or power to define the success or a failure of that role to them. You can't avoid it. But then what you can control is whether you are truly going to accept that definition or take insight of yourself, right? That's under your control. You define your own success and failure. And success or failure are just events in life. It's never a person. You'll never be a successful person, or you just can't keep on saying and blabbering about, oh, I'm a successful person, failure person, blah, 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 right? These are all simple events, okay? Once you understand that success is an event or failure is an event, you don't attach yourself to it. You enjoy the benefit of it. I'm not, gonna you to become like a total sadhu, completely in denial. You need to enjoy your life too, right? All I'm saying is create the structure and the narrative by which you enjoy the benefit of those things, but don't attach yourself into those definitions. Right. So coming to the structures, what are the core other structures? One, we saw the core theme, the end game, or the target of your narrative, and now we also saw how to create your own character. So internal character. So no matter what title others give, you have your own multiple titles. You should be able to, if they try to trap you into one character, you switch over yourself beautifully into another character by yourself, by your mind, right? If somebody is trying to trap you as a failed investment manager, you should be able to quickly, switch over, right, into something else which you are good at, right, and then approach it from that perspective, right, and quickly avoid, getting into the trap. So, for example, when you go as an investor, you don't just go as an investor, right, or investment manager, whatever the title you may be, fund manager, whatever the title is given to you, or even if you manage your own family's fortune on the investment. Don't get stuck with one role in life. Okay, you should be good in economics, right? You should be passionate about other things. All I'm saying is, bring life is not just one monotonous thing. Life is very beautiful, right? Never get into the trap of success failure. Each event, okay, it's a sequence of events, zillions of actions, zillions of decision making. Life is so complex. Okay, enjoy the story. You can only enjoy the story of your life if you are the one who takes control. All I'm saying is that. Okay, so create the events or control the events. Take back the control in defining success or failure by yourself. Now you can confront me, maybe whatever you are saying is theoretical, because most of the time we are confined to other people's things. We've been pulled into the story of other people, right? One good thing is at least now you recognize these are all stories. That's the very first thing. I want you to first, my success in this podcast is making you realize life is all made of stories, right? Now the only thing is I want you to understand you live mostly in other people's story. People try to captivate you in their story. I want you to get out of that and live in your story. Now, the confrontation would be that I already got into their story. How can I take myself out? That's where the other structural elements of story comes in, right? So what are the other structure of story? A good, beautiful story is all about the narrative, right? So can you make the change using the narrative? The story may be written by somebody, right? Or they created, and they kind of have a virtual control on your avatar and try to do it. You can actually take back a control wherever possible. Quickly take the control back by your own narrative. Story may be theirs, but you can set the narrative. I know it's becoming more theoretical. Let me give you an example. Some I've seen over many years in my own life, I have mastered this, right, over a period of time. That's why if I'm not qualified, I'm not going to make this. I'll not be making this podcast. So people, say somebody is writing you as a villain, antagonist in their story, okay, then saying that, oh, this particular person, so and so, David, okay, David is a badass. He had, committed so and so things to me and never fulfilled this promise. Violated this, violated that, according to this rule, according to that rule. This is the agreement, that is the agreement. He's a bad person, socially not acceptable person. All these things they will try to stamp you as a bad person to bring you down. Now, that's how they create the story, according to the story. But then, when you said how to take the narrative back, they are only setting the badness, damaging your character or your role through their narrative. The story still probably, may not actually end in their favor, the way even they created it, right? But then the narrative, okay, you can make a bypass of the group of, bunch of incidents that they are doing, right? By creating a narrative. Through narrative, you can take the control. So they create a, you move the story from one incident to the other incident through narrating it, right? So they are in order to fulfill, take it forward their own story, they have to set the narrative of it, right? This is where a lot of people put so much of effort into it, right? And if they are defining the narrative, we live in the technology world, what they do, they use tools like internet, writing into the forum, writing into the social media, writing into the and a lot of people don't even have ability to take you to the court, okay, because they lose if they take you to the court, right? So whatever the accusations they are putting on you, it's only a narrative they're setting, okay, through, and then they need certain tools to actually fulfill the narrative, right? Narrative requires audience, right? So you focus on the audience. You look at the detail. Why you even bothered about it, right? Many times their narrative may not be even having audience. So that doesn't mean you ignore the narrative because the narrative is set. What can I do about it? Sometimes you can ignore the narrative because there's no audience, right? And you don't even care for those audience who is reading there or listening to the narrative of your character or your characterization of the events that happens around you. Now you set your own narrative, right? Take the control back of the story in that way. So you take other people's story, take control of the other people's story where your character has been embedded into by taking back the narrative and make a new bypass of their story, and by which you take the control back, and probably from that point forward you're creating a new story for yourself as a bypass for their story, and their story will become their story, right? So that's where the you really have you can take the upper hand. First of all, you design your own story and keep it as a main story, right? And each one of the other people's story, you can control it through taking back the narrative and put it right. So you become an antagonist in that story. Then you become play the rules of the protagonist, right? You create your role as a bigger role, as a protagonist, right? As a larger than life character. You define that, and in your narrative, you said that very clearly. I'm not saying fake anything. I'm only talking about you defining who you really are, and you have to live. We established that very clearly. You need to live within yourself very clearly. For that, you have to be honest, truthful, and do right things in your own life, in your own mind, very clearly that you are the good person. First thing is that, right? Otherwise, you are creating all fake characters, right? No matter how many avatars of you create, everything is based on bad character foundation. So character foundation is definitely the very first. So with character as a good foundation, right? You already set a beautiful life for yourself. Multiple stories, narratives within yourself. Wherever possible, you are going to create it, and you're going to put yourself into it, create many avatars of yourself. But then, when other people are trying to create a new story, which we can't avoid, you get into their stories, but create a mechanism of controlling the narrative of those stories, right? Whenever the narrative is going against you, you find a bypass way to create a different narrative for yourself, right? For that, you really have to first of all, don't even get into giving opportunity for other people to create story for you. From the beginning, try to take control. Play in your own backyard. Play in your own stage. You control the stage, then nobody can manipulate you, right? Whether every time before signing an agreement, before getting into a partnership, before getting into an investment, ask the question. As I said, no matter how much of great financial advisor you've got, fantastic legal team you've got, no matter what, right? Final thing, validation for you to make a decision is whether I'm going to be in charge of the story moving forward, and what are the points I should be taking care. Even if I'm desperate to make this decision in spite of them having the turf is their turf, and I'm going to play in their turf. For example, if you are the trade and commerce secretary or minister of your nation, and you have to sign an agreement with another country, and you have to sign a treaty or a bunch of agreements, something to do with tariffs and something to do with other aspect of it, you probably are going to be accepting certain terms, a lot of terms, which is controlled by the other nation. But you need to have a mechanism defined very clearly. What is your end goal? Is it in, it doesn't matter, I give up something right now, but then I control through the narrative. So you focus on the narrative, your own narrative of it, be prepared for, make them lose on the narrative side, and you be stronger on the narrative side. And also the pointers, right? The decision points, whenever, you put enough, or, let's say, enough anchors, within the entire agreement, where you should be able to take control, right? That you can always negotiate as a part of the contract, right? Part of the treaty or part of the investment agreement, whatever you do. So keep looking for these anchors. These anchors are, lawyers probably are not going to tell you, because for them they are looking into the legal, part of it. But then what I'm saying is this, the new aspect of it, whatever you want to name it, right? Keep this as the validation. I need to put anchors by which I can take back the narrative, right? Of course, there are a lot of good lawyers who would actually help you with that, right? The narratives, right? So through the narratives and the controls, right? Put the right word is control, right? The anchoring, put the controls somewhere. To the control you can take back. Control puts you back into, somebody's um, if somebody is playing music in the, music system, right? But then you take control of the volume, right? Either you control the remote, take the remote control, so that you can mute it, you can change the tune, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Put enough hooks, enough anchors, enough controls, so you can take charge of the narrative moving forward. It can be applicable for the treaties between the countries, or it can be applicable for investment decision. It can be applicable for partnership agreement, wherever it is, right? Everywhere, never, and even regular life, family decisions, right? If you are getting into agreement, or a kind of a moral agreement, or not necessarily even legal agreement, some kind of a more sensational personal agreement, or with somebody, even there is no written contract, right? Keep that in mind. This person, if this person is going to control the narrative or control the story, how I can take back the controls as a narrator. Okay, that's a most important thing. So let's summarize, right? Overall, you should, first of all, you should create your own internal character, who you are. Never create single monotonous title for you. That's for the other people to set, right? For you, follow your heart, create multiple avatars of yourself, create, develop passions, right? Not just one thing. Now, you should be good in, if you're an investor, you should be good in investment, you should be good in economics, you should be good in sports, you should be good in even, cultures, traditions, cultures around the world. Those things are going to give you beautiful opportunity to have ability to create. First of all, I've been advising you to create a story. How can you create a story if you don't have ability to even understand how a story, our ability to enjoy life in multiple perspectives, right? You can't enjoy life as an investor. If you're going to, golf course, you have to be a golfer, right? You should be able to play golf, enjoy golf. Or if you want to surf, right? How can you enjoy, as an investor, I'm going to enjoy? No, you cannot enjoy surfing as an investor. You should be able to enjoy the life through creating multiple avatars of yourself, right? Internally. First, the basic thing is that one. Okay. And then other things, the titles that you carry, as and when defined by other people, you should be having the ability to detach yourself from those titles, and ready to kill those titles along with the story. And you should have a control of change of events, right? The narratives and change of events. If one event changes, you create another event. You embed another event into their story also, right, if possible, and quickly turn around with the events. So with the narratives, you can take the control back, and then with the change of events, then you should be able to take the control back of their storyline. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. It's my pleasure to share my knowledge and wisdom through this podcast. Keep looking for more Moy Kannan podcast and Moyanas podcast and Moyanomics podcast. I would love to be in touch base with you. Write to me at moya.kannan@moyakannan.com. Until then, have a nice life. Learn to live life beautifully as a story.